Keto has a dirty little secret the diet industry doesn't want you to know. It stops working the moment you make one of 4 specific mistakes. And statistically, you're making at least 2 of them right now. Let's start with the most uncomfortable truth in the room. A lot of people who think they're doing keto aren't actually in ketosis. And I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. Your body enters ketosis when carbohydrate intake drops low enough that it runs out of glucose to burn and switches to fat for fuel. Most people need to stay under about 20 to 50 grams of net carbs per day to make that happen. And that threshold is brutally easy to blow right past without realizing it. Think about your last few meals. Did you check the label on that salad dressing? What about the nuts you were snacking on? A handful of cashews has almost 9 grams of net carbs. Almonds are better, but they still add up fast. The hidden carbs in condiments, sauces, and packaged foods are some of the sneakiest roadblocks to fat loss that people consistently underestimate. Before you do anything else, spend 1 week actually tracking your carb intake with a food diary or an app. You might be genuinely shocked, but let's say you've checked your tracking and your carbs really are under control. The scale still isn't moving. What then? This brings us to the second big issue, and it's one that catches so many people off guard. Calories still matter on keto. I know, you've read that keto is different, that you can eat fat freely and your body will just sort itself out. And there is some truth to the idea that fat and protein are more satiating than carbs, which can naturally reduce how much you eat. But naturally reduced is not the same as irrelevant. Fat is incredibly calorie dense. 1 tablespoon of butter is around 100 calories. A tablespoon of olive oil is close to 120. People doing keto sometimes overload their meals with fat under the assumption that fat is always safe. And then they wonder why their body isn't letting go of its own fat stores. Your body will prioritize burning the dietary fat you eat before it turns to your stored fat. So if you're pouring extra butter on everything and drizzling oil on every dish, you may be giving your body so much fuel from outside that it never needs to tap into the reserves. You don't have to obsessively count every calorie forever, but at least for a period of 2 to 3 weeks, tracking what you eat can illuminate patterns you didn't know existed. Now, let's talk about something a little deeper: stress and sleep. These 2 things are the silent killers of weight loss progress, and they work through a very specific mechanism that has nothing to do with willpower or food choices. When you're chronically stressed, your body pumps out cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone that's incredibly useful in short bursts, but devastating in long-term elevation. One of the things cortisol does is signal your body to hold onto fat, particularly around your midsection. It also raises blood sugar levels, even without any carbohydrate intake, which can interfere with the fat-burning state you're working so hard to maintain. And here's where it connects directly to sleep. Poor sleep is one of the most reliable ways to spike cortisol. Even just a few nights of getting 6 hours instead of 8 has been shown in research to significantly increase hunger hormones and reduce the hormones that signal fullness. So you might be eating perfectly, tracking your carbs, staying in ketosis, and still fighting an uphill battle because your stress is chemically working against you. If you're sleeping less than 7 hours consistently or dealing with high levels of ongoing stress, addressing those things might matter more than any dietary tweak you could make. Here's another one that people rarely consider. How long have you been doing keto? If you've been at it for more than a few months, your metabolism has adapted. Your body is genuinely smart. And when it senses a consistent pattern in food intake and energy expenditure, it calibrates itself to match. This is sometimes called metabolic adaptation. Your resting metabolic rate can actually decrease over time in response to prolonged caloric restriction or a fixed eating pattern. One way to break through this is to vary your intake periodically. Some people find success with a targeted keto approach where they slightly increase carbs around intense exercise. Others experiment with a cyclical approach involving occasional higher carb days. These strategies aren't for everyone, but they exist because the body sometimes needs disruption to restart progress. Exercise also deserves a conversation here. Keto is not a free pass to skip movement. And I'm not talking about just cardio. Resistance training, building muscle, is one of the most effective long-term strategies for improving your metabolic rate because muscle tissue is metabolically expensive. Your body burns more calories maintaining muscle than it does maintaining fat, even when you're sitting still. People who do keto and incorporate consistent strength training often see dramatically better results than those who rely on diet alone. If your current exercise routine is mostly walking or light cardio, consider adding even 2 sessions of weight training per week and giving it 6 to 8 weeks to see what changes. Let's also briefly address the role of artificial sweeteners in keto-friendly packaged products. This one's controversial, but it's worth raising. Products marketed as keto, things like low-carb bars, keto ice cream, and sugar-free snacks, sometimes contain ingredients that affect insulin response or gut health in ways that aren't fully reflected on a nutrition label. Some research suggests that certain artificial sweeteners may influence gut bacteria or trigger cravings in ways that undermine progress. This doesn't mean every keto product is bad, but if you're relying heavily on these foods and your progress has stalled, removing them for a few weeks to see what happens is a reasonable experiment. And then there's the timeline issue. Weight loss is genuinely non-linear. Your body doesn't lose fat in a clean downward slope. You can go 2 weeks with no movement on the scale and then drop 2 pounds seemingly overnight. Water retention fluctuates based on stress, sodium intake, hormonal cycles, inflammation, and a dozen other variables. The scale number on any given morning is not an accurate representation of your fat loss progress. Tracking body measurements, progress photos, how your clothes fit, and how your energy levels and mental clarity feel are all much richer indicators of what's actually happening inside your body. So let's bring it all together. If you're not losing weight on keto despite your best efforts, start by auditing your hidden carb intake ruthlessly. Then, look at your total calorie picture and see if dietary fat might be crowding out the need to burn stored fat. Examine your sleep and stress levels honestly, because those hormonal factors can override your best dietary choices. Consider whether metabolic adaptation has kicked in and whether introducing some variation makes sense. Add or intensify strength training if it's not already part of your routine. Reduce your reliance on packaged keto products. And finally, zoom out on your timeline and stop judging progress by a single number on a scale. Keto works. The science behind it is solid, but it works for humans, and humans are complicated. Your body is not a simple math problem. It's an adaptive, hormonal, stress-responsive system that requires a layered approach. Start with the fundamentals we covered today. Make 1 or 2 adjustments at a time. Give each change genuine time to work, and stay consistent. The progress will come.